Former Republican Texas Congressman Will Hurd joins me, author of the just published book, American Reboot, an idealist guide to getting big things done. Speaking of big things, dealing with the border, big picture here. Does the Biden administration believe that what's happening on the southern border, in your mind, is a failure or just sort of a success in a way because everybody gets to come in, and that's kind of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris said on the campaign trail?
Well, I actually don't think they know what they're doing is the bottom line. And this issue is much larger than just Title 42. Leland, you and I have been talking about border security and immigration for a number of years, and the same problem still exists. You can't treat everyone as if they're an asylum seeker. There are clear rules and laws around what an asylum seeker is supposed to be. 90% of the folks that are coming and claiming asylum are not meeting that. And DHS is treating everyone as if they're an asylum seeker. This practice started during the last administration as well. Also, to move these kinds of numbers, and the numbers you're talking about I think you're within the ballpark of what this could potentially balloon to.
Well, to be clear, this isn't our numbers. These are the numbers that DHS put out in their own report.
And that may be a low ball, Leland. That may be a low ball. Is my point. And so that amount of people, they're not just walking from Tegucigalpa to Del Rio. They are being moved by human traffickers. And we know the buses that people are taking. We have cell phones of the people that they have to call. To move this amount of people requires an infrastructure, and that infrastructure is not being dismantled. Ultimately, Homeland Security investigations is supposed to be involved.
Yeah, no, we've heard reports of even the Mexican police taking payoffs of $2,000 a person. So it's not like there's some real attempt by the Mexican government to crack down on this.
For sure,
this was President Trump all the way back in 2015. Take a listen.
We have to do something about it, and we have to start by building a wall, a big, beautiful, powerful wall. It can have a gate, it can have a door. We'll let people in legally, but we have to stop what's happening to our country.
Say what you want, but if the wall was built right now, we'd be in a pretty different situation, wouldn't we?
A wall like that is not going to stop 450,000 people from coming over it, right? You already talked about how that Border Patrol is tied up by processing people. So if you have parts of the border, whether they'd be coming through Del Rio or the cities, they'd be going in between the ports of entry to sneak in. And so that's why the process begins in the countries that people are coming from. Historically, it's been the Northern Triangle. Now, because it's being seen as a free-for-all
hold on, Congressman. This sounds exactly like the addressing the root causes of immigration we always hear about. And I've been spent a lot of time on the border. I know you have too. I didn't see a lot of people going over sections of the Trump wall that had been built. And if you have 450,000 people aren't going to come if they know they're met with a wall that goes from San Diego to the Gulf of Mexico.
There's parts of the border where it takes hours or days for Border Patrol to respond to, right? And so this is why you have to look. The volume that is coming in right now, the people are in essence surrendering to Border Patrol because they know they're going to get a bus ticket or a plane ticket to go somewhere in the interior part of the United States. That needs to be cut off first. Yes, we can be able to control our border and have what's called operational control and know absolutely everything that's coming back and forth across the border. That can be done. In some places, yes, you need physical barriers. In other places, you need technology. But potentially 450,000 people coming across a month, this is much bigger than a 10-foot high, 30-foot high wall.
We can reasonably agree that the reason they're coming is because they know from all of their friends and from the videos we show that they're going to get a plane or a bus ticket to everywhere that they want. If they realized they were going to be turned back or they were going to have to walk for 2 days through the desert rather than just turn themselves in, things would be different. I feel like that's kind of what Greg Abbott's trying to get at when he says he's going to send everybody to Washington, D.C. Take a listen.
Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C. We are sending them to the United States Capitol, where the Biden administration will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border.
That going to change anything?
I don't know. That's a lot of buses for 450,000 people.
Yeah, well,
right?
it makes a point, though. You've lived in D.C., though. I mean, as much of it is a publicity stunt, it would make the point to the media in D.C. and everybody else what Texas is dealing with.
Well, here's what's shocking to me. The number of my colleagues that were on the other side of the aisle that were always talking about the humanitarian crisis that's going along the border under the previous administration, a lot of them have been silent. And it's worse. The humanitarian crisis is worse under President Biden, and they've been silent on this. This is a real crisis. It's only going to get worse. The solutions to this, require some time to ultimately work. Those things should have been done back in 2009 when I first started talking about this issue. And this is, and guess what? You're going to see implications of this at the ballot because in 2022, you're going to see a lot of South and West Texans who are impacted by border security. For people that live there, means public safety. And they're sick and tired of seeing dozens of people coming by their homes late at night and being afraid for their children.
You make a great point. There's a lot of border counties that have now seen gone from plus double-digit Democrat to now single-digit Democrat. Some may even flip. Hey, Congressman, it's great to see you again. It's been too long.
Well, thanks for having me on. And like I said, this is an important issue. I've been talking about it. That's why it's the largest chapter in my book when we talk about immigration and border security. So,
all right, we'll get to the other chapters next time. All right.
Good copy, my friend.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.